Hey everyone, I'm Shadow, and today we're going for a PSD called inFamous made by Kelly. She started off with a grey background layer and placed in her render. On her render she used a vector mask and erased parts of the render that she didn't like. Then she began adding C4Ds into the background behind the render. The C4Ds help add flow and motion to the signature and go very well with the render of choice. She added the same C4D again over the first C4D, again continuing the same motion and depth into the signature. She then added a few more C4Ds, some of them like this one, again she used a vector mask on so that they didn't take up the entire signature and added the flow and motion where she wanted them to be. She continued to add C4Ds to continue this motion, both upwards in this direction and around in this direction. This particular C4D has good lighting on it, so encourages the appeal of reflection from the lightning effect on the render. Finally, she added 3 more C4Ds, adding motion in this direction as well, following the motion of the lightning effect on the render. Once she'd done this, she added some adjustment layers, each one changing the colour and feel of the C4Ds in the background so that they blend against the render. Now you can see they're a lot darker and the colours are more yellow and blue. Next she added a brush stroke in front of the render in a splatter effect. This splatter effect emulates the existing splatter in the lightning effect on the render. Next she applied the image and moved it over the splatter and clipped it to the splatter so that the splattering effect blends in with the rest of the signature. Next she added a bubble C4D to add lighting to the signature. She added a vector mask to this layer so that it doesn't take up the entirety of the space and only affects the area that she desired it to. Then she added another splatter brush stroke in front of the render and again applied the image and clipped it to the brushing so it blends in with the piece. Next she added quite a few adjustment layers, each one making the piece darker and brighter in places that she desired, whilst also subtly changing the colour of the piece. Once she'd finished this, she applied the layer and went to image and added the auto colour, auto contrast and auto tone effects to the layer. She then set this to 36% opacity so that the effect was not too harsh. Next she added levels adjustment layer to balance out the dark and light in the signature. Then she added a white brush layer to add lighting to the render. Then she continued to add more adjustment layers, changing the vibrance and colour of the piece. Again, this is quite subtle, apart from the curves layer, which adds quite a lot of brightness as well as a blue tone to the entirety of the signature. Next she added another layer where she brushed with a black brush around the edges to increase the darkness and draw the eye into the centre render. Then she applied the image and added autocorrect colour again, this time on 56% opacity. Then she added a gradient map, with the effect is quite subtle, and an exposure layer, which makes the entire darkness of the signature more flat and levelled. Then she added a 1-pix black border to the entirety of the piece, framing the signature. Next she added a new apply image layer, again auto-correcting the tone, contrast and colour of the piece and set this to 35% opacity. Next she added text saying Kelly. This text has a drop shadow, a colour overlay of a yellow tone from the render and a yellow and green gradient at 50% opacity on a scale of 100%, as well as a 1-pix black stroke border to the text. Her next bit of text says inFamous and also has a 1-pix black stroke, a drop shadow, an inner shadow and an inner glow, as well as a bevel and emboss. The colour overlay on this one is a bluey grey shade from the render, and the gradient overlay also contains other colours like yellow and white from the render. This helps it to blend in with the rest of the signature. Next she added 2 more layers that brush around the edges of the signature and increase the darkness, adding depth and again drawing the eye into the centre of the piece. Then she added another exposure layer to blend out the darkness of the edging brushing so that the whole thing is not too black and dark. Then she added another curves layer to increase the lighting in the piece and continue that darkness across the render. Next she applied the image and added a smart sharpen to the entirety of the piece, adding a vector mask so that she could reduce the effect of the sharpening in areas that she didn't like. Next she added 3 different apply image layers, each one auto contrast, auto tone and auto colour, so that she could edit the opacity of each to the one she desired. Next she added more darkening to the edges, continued to build up the depth in the piece. Then she added more exposure and some photo filters, subtly changing the colour of the piece. Next she added a layer to adjust the colour of the text saying inFamous so that it's more yellow and blends in with the C4D effects in the background. Then she applied the image again and used only auto colour this time on 12% opacity. Next she added a white brush layer to the top of the render on the back so that the lighting is improved. Next she added a burn layer to burn the edges, as well as a dodge burn layer to add lighting and tone to the render. She's used these on a separate layer filled with 50% grey so that she can remove them later if she desires. Next she added another white brush to add more lighting and brighter lighting to the render. Then she applied the image again and blurred parts of the image so that they weren't as sharp, and also increased the depth in the piece. Next she added more darkness to the sides of the piece, as well as some burning under the text, and finally she finished off the signature with a 1 pix black border. Thank you for watching.